Hey everyone, welcome to our webinar, Automate Incident Response to Reduce MTTR. My name is Claudio Pillay, and I'm joined by my colleague, Nazanin, who will be giving us a hands-on demo of the NetBrain platform in just a short few minutes. Before we begin, we'll go over a little housekeeping. Like most of our webinars, you could ask questions at any point during the presentation. All microphones are muted, but you'll be able to type your questions in the Q&A section. Also, this webinar is being recorded, so if you miss any part of the presentation, you'll be able to rewatch from our website after a few days. Lastly, we advise everyone to watch in full screen mode to not miss any details. This webinar is part of our new 2024 series, Think Automation First. Every other week, we demonstrate NetBrain's automated assessments and dashboard technology live. The idea is to show you how to automate the repetitive tasks that significantly slow down management of the network. You can register to watch the rest of the series from our website, and you can even catch past webinars on demand. Just browse to the URL on screen and sign up. So without further ado, I hand it off to Naz, who will demonstrate how NetBrain automates the entire incident response workflow.
Thanks, Claudio. Sorry about that, guys. Can you hear me okay now? Going to go ahead and share my screen and just quickly talk about what triggered automation means to us and what it can help us with. So why is triggered automation so important, and how does it basically go in and help us reduce mean time to resolution? Well, just off the top of my head, I can think of a couple of reasons. But really, by automating automation and checks and troubleshooting processes, we're going to speed up the troubleshooting process altogether in a whole significantly. Every engineer has kind of their go-to preliminary diagnosis or steps that they take due to the nature of a problem that they like to run. For example, if I have a BGP issue, I'm going to gravitate towards BGP neighbor and BGP summary command. So why don't we automate this so that when I'm looking at it as an engineer or I'm facing a problem, I could see exactly what NetBrain has done and have a head start on my troubleshooting process. So this is where our summary dashboards come in handy. So here we can see an example of a summary dashboard on the right. And you can see that ServiceNow can trigger a ticket. And I'm going to show you guys this later on in the demonstration. And you can see that NetBrain's going in and running CRC errors and ping tests to destination automatically. Now, these dashboards can also be shared with read-only access, which is going to really help with that escalation or that collaborative effort during those high incident or high impact incidents that occur. How this works is we can use either a user-reported issue or a monitoring system alert. So this could be either a trigger rule in your monitoring tool trigger, or maybe a short description in a ticketing solution, or it could be something detected from NetBrain itself. And what happens is it goes through the auto-diagnosis process. So symptom verifications, impact analysis, correlate to a known issue. So any kind of intent or automation that you can create within NetBrain, you can use that as a triggered automation in scenario of an incident. Then we can take action as well. So in another step, we can go ahead and leverage webhooks to then give a triggered reaction or a triggered action. So for example, if my problem is noise, right? My production environment or my ticketing solution is giving off a lot of noise, false positives, things like that, I can go ahead and close a ticket. Or maybe I just need better help prioritizing my incidents in my environment or my NOC or my network engineering team. You can have NetBrain go in, run its diagnosis based on the output, go ahead and auto update the ticket. And I'll be showing you guys examples of all of this. So without further ado, I'm going to stop this PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to get into the actual product. So why don't we start by looking at this application issue and how NetBrain would go in and do this kind of manually and what this actually looks like. So this is for anybody who's kind of new, doesn't really understand how NetBrain works in the background. Before I show you how we automate it, I'm going to show you actually how it works. So here we have an application, maybe a slow app issue. I've drawn my source to my destination path here, and I want to leverage my automation library to look for these application checks. Now, these are the application checks that we're able to go in and automate. Now, we do have a really robust library built into NetBrain with over 250 of these application checks that you can just go in and download and leverage yourself. These include things like critical application impact, delay stability checks, device CPU process, diagnosis device memory process, QoS drops, things like that. And you can very easily just go and click on these and replicate it and then run it against our map. As we all know, or for those of you who don't know, you know now, right? And now what we could do is we can actually automate this process. So now what does that look like? So just give this a second to run, overlay it. Then we have our output, our beautiful output posted up on our map. Just like that dashboard that I showed in my PowerPoint presentation, here you can see we have the same problem. So we have a slow application issue coming from our Boston site. So now what can NetBrain go ahead and do? So this is an example of a summary dashboard functionality that we have with our triggered automation. So in this specific use case, we told NetBrain, hey, whenever we get a ticket or monitoring alert with the subject line or the trigger line of slow application, I want you to go in to run CRC errors on the interface path 12 times every 5 minutes, and then a ping to destination as well. Now, the power of running this continuously is, as you can see here, we have no current alerts populated on our dashboard. Everything looks pretty much green. If I click onto one of these, for instance, you can see that NetBrain is actually keeping a historical value of every time that runs. So if I'm troubleshooting an intermittent issue, or maybe a transient issue, or maybe the diagnosis and the troubleshooting is already completed, and I just want to make sure that this problem doesn't come back, NetBrain can continuously run those diagnosis steps automatically. And the really cool thing about this is I can go back to July 22nd at 1:30 a.m. I can go in and view the map, and it'll actually show me that path, those devices, and that map at that specific time. So being able to capture that. And this is running all automatically in the background. So NetBrain's actually able to keep a retention of that automation output for us to leverage, which will be very helpful for these historical or intermittent issues. Now that we have all this information captured accurately in the map, and you can see we've gone in and we have our layer 1 team go in and do some diagnosis, and then actually our layer 2 is able to find something. We're able to escalate this and collaborate with this by using our share read-only functionality we have on this dashboard. So if we have a lateral team, if we want to show this to the application team, maybe show them, hey, in fact, this is not a network issue. We've done all these layers of diagnosis. We found no error. Can you guys check your code on your side? Or maybe we just want to escalate to a more senior resource. Now that senior resource isn't going to have to rerun all the troubleshooting, the diagnosis that the junior level has already done, because chances are 9 times out of 10, that's what happens, right? You call, you escalate, what checks have you ran? Okay, let me rerun them. This is going to save time. Again, going back to that, reducing our mean time to resolution when doing those collaborative efforts. So how are we able to do this triggered automation? I always love to show a ticket because it really captures, and this is just going to be an example. This is a ServiceNow ticket here. And I love to use this example because it really shows the NetBrain automation and what's actually going on here. So here we have a ticket saying application is very slow. So again, we're able to identify those key variables. In this specific use case for this webinar, we're talking about anything with the word application and slow in it, right? We want to run these series of diagnoses. So in this instance, we've had NetBrain go in and look for some ping checks, operational status, CPU checks, looking for output drops, and QoS oversubscription. So again, going back to that automation library that I showed you at the beginning of the webinar, being able to leverage as many or less as you need to. So this is very customizable. So you can see the ticket was opened at 4:11:50. And then by 4/13/06, NetBrain has come to a really great conclusion and it's populated the ticket. Now, for the next action step, like I mentioned, NetBrain can now take action. It can change the state, it can change the impact, it can change the urgency, it can close the ticket if it wants to. By leveraging webhooks, we're able to customize any of these field or variables based on the output of NetBrain's diagnosis or automation. So with this in time, one, you're going to reduce the amount of false positives, right? So NetBrain has the ability to go in and auto close if needed. So it's going to allow engineers to spend a lot more time doing what they're intended to do and doing more productive things, and as opposed to going in and closing redundant false positives. It's going to help escalate those high priority issues for us. And at the very least, at the highest point and the highest level, NetBrain's just going to be able to jumpstart our troubleshooting process with those preliminary checks, like I mentioned in the beginning, that typically we would have to manually run. And especially if it's an application, sometimes on each device along the path, but NetBrain does it within, as you see demonstrated here, within a matter of minutes, to help us locate our root cause as quickly as possible, reducing that mean time to resolution. Now with that, I'm going to leave this open for any questions that anyone may have. There is a Q&A box. I'm going to just put this back on presentation here, or pass it back to Claudio. Claudio, if you have anything else to add.
Thanks, Naz. So we actually had a question. Are we limited to just 3 sections on the dashboard, or can you add a section for like each team working on the issue?
The dashboards are completely modular, so you can add as many sections as you need to based on the troubleshooting process that exists in your environment.
Cool. And then another question that came in was, how does NetBrain integrate with a ticketing system?
So NetBrain is able to integrate with any ticketing system as long as there's a RESTful API.
Okay. Has NetBrain, like, do they do integrations with, for example, Jira or?
Yep. Yeah, some ticketing systems include things like Jira, as well as ServiceNow, which obviously I demonstrated today. As long as there's a RESTful API, integration is possible, as well as monitoring solutions as well. We're also able to integrate with monitoring solutions if needed.
Can the system you're integrating with, can it open an incident within NetBrain?
Yes. So the same way that NetBrain is able to feed information into a ticketing platform, it could also feed some information into NetBrain as well.
Awesome. I think that's it as far as questions. Just giving it a few seconds maybe for someone else. Okay, well, it looks like that's it. I want to remind everyone to about NetBrain Live. We're hosting that September 30th through October 2nd, and you can go to our website and register for that and meet other like-minded individuals, talk about NetBrain automation and how you can start automating your network operations workflows. Thanks again to everyone for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, one thing. We have one more question. Where can we get detailed steps to set up dashboards?
So, yeah, absolutely. So we have multiple avenues that you can go in and leverage. We have a really great NetBrain help that's public facing that has some steps, but we do have really great resourceful videos as well as training power user training, and NetBrain University training as well. So we have multiple avenues of learning how to set up these dashboards if needed.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's also on our website. You can register for power user training. It's free for customers. And there's also NetBrain University, which is also free. So we definitely advise anybody who's interested to register and look for the educational material. And then we also have on our YouTube page a bunch of tutorials, like step-by-step, usually within 5 minutes, the videos, and teaching you how to set up dashboards or 5-minute automation. Okay, I think that one was the last question. So once again, thank you for joining us. Be sure to register for NetBrain Live in September. And thanks again. And we'll see you next week, in 2 weeks.